Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine you are standing in a dimly lit auction house in Monterey, California. It is 2018. The room is filled with billionaires, collectors, and dealers. The air is thick with anticipation. On the stage, a car sits under a silk cover. It is red, it is low, it is beautiful. It is a Ferrari 250 GTO. The auctioneer begins the bidding. $10 million, $20 million, $30 million, $40 million. The bids come faster than anyone can track. $50 million, $60 million. The room gasps. The bidding slows. Two men remain, one on the phone, one in the room. $65 million, $70 million. The phone bidder raises his hand one last time. $70 million. The hammer falls. The room erupts. $70 million for a car. Not a new car, not a hypercar, not a one-off. A car built in 1962. A car with a steel body, a V12 engine, and a manual transmission. A car that weighs just 2,200 pounds and has 300 horsepower. A car that is, by modern standards, slow. But it is the most expensive car in the world. Why? What makes the Ferrari 250 GTO worth more than a private jet, more than a penthouse in Manhattan, more than most people earn in 10 lifetimes? The answer is not simple. It is a story of engineering genius, of racing glory, of scarcity, of passion, and of obsession. It is the story of the most desirable object ever created by human hands. Over the course of this episode, we are going to tell that story. From the mind of Enzo Ferrari to the drawing board of Giotto Bizzarini. From the racetracks of Le Mans to the garages of the world's richest collectors. From a car that cost $18,000 new to a car that sold for $70 million. This is not just a story about a car. It is a story about art, about history, about the human desire to own something that no one else can have. It is the story of the Ferrari 250 GTO. Let us begin. Let us go back to 1961, to the factory in Maranello, to the birth of a legend. Part 1. The birth of a legend. The year is 1961. Enzo Ferrari is at war, not with another car manufacturer, but with his own engineers. A group of senior designers, led by Carlo Citti and Giotto Bizzarini, have walked out of Ferrari in protest. They are furious with Enzo's wife, Laura, who they believe has too much influence over the company. They leave to start their own company, Automobili Turismo e Sport, or ATS. This is a disaster for Ferrari. Citti and Bizzarini were the brains behind Ferrari's most successful race cars. Without them, Ferrari has no chief engineer, no design team, no one to develop the next generation of cars. Enzo is desperate. He needs a new car to compete in the FIA's new GT championship. He needs it quickly. He needs it to win. Enzo turns to a young engineer named Mauro Forghieri. Forghieri is only 26 years old, but he is brilliant. He is given the task of designing a new car based on the existing 250 GT SWB. The new car must be faster, lighter, and more aerodynamic. It must be a race car that is also legal for the road. It must be the best GT car ever built. The car is called the 250 GTO. GTO stands for Gran Turismo Omologato, which means Grand Touring Homologated. It is built to meet the FIA's homologation requirements for the Group 3 GT category. Ferrari must build at least 100 cars to qualify. They end up building only 36. But that is a story for later. The design of the 250 GTO is a collaboration. The chassis is based on the 250 GT SWB, but it is modified. The engine is the famous Tipo 168 V12, a 3-liter 60-degree V12 with 6 Weber carburetors. It produces 300 horsepower at 7,500 RPM. That may not sound like much today. A modern Toyota Camry has more power. But in 1962, 300 horsepower in a car that weighs just 2,200 pounds was extraordinary. The power-to-weight ratio was better than almost anything on the road. The engine is mounted in the front, behind the front axle. This is called front-mid engine layout. It gives the car better weight distribution than a conventional front-engine car. The transmission is in the rear, connected to the engine by a drive shaft. This also improves weight distribution. The 250 GTO has a near-perfect 50-50 balance. The body is made of steel and aluminum. The doors, hood, and trunk are aluminum. The rest is steel. The shape is designed for aerodynamics. The front grille is small to reduce drag. The headlights are covered with plexiglass lenses. The rear has a small spoiler integrated into the trunk lid. The underside is flat to reduce lift. The 250 GTO has a drag coefficient of just 0.34, which is remarkable for a car from the 1960s. The suspension is independent at the front with double wishbones and coil springs. The rear is a live axle with leaf springs. It is not sophisticated by modern standards, but it works. The brakes are disc brakes on all 4 wheels, which was advanced for the time. The interior is Spartan. There is a steering wheel, a gear shift, 3 pedals, and a few gauges. No radio, no air conditioning, no power windows. The seats are thin. The carpet is minimal. The driver sits low, looking out over the long hood. The experience is raw, visceral, pure. The 250 GTO is not a car for beginners. It requires skill, concentration, and courage. The rear axle can step out if you are too aggressive with the throttle. The brakes require a firm push. The steering is heavy at low speeds. But at speed, it comes alive. It dances. It sings. It is one of the greatest driving machines ever built. Part 3. The Racing Glory. The 250 GTO was built to race, and race it did. Between 1962 and 1965, the 250 GTO dominated GT racing. It won the FIA International Championship for GT manufacturers 3 years in a row. It won the Tour de France Automobile. It won the Targa Florio. It won the 24 Hours of Le Mans in its class. It was unbeatable. The 250 GTO's first race was the 1962 12 Hours of Sebring in Florida. The car finished second overall, behind a 250 TRI 61. It was a promising start. The first victory came at the 1962 Targa Florio, the legendary road race in Sicily. The car, driven by Riccardo Ricci and Stefano Marsaglia, won its class and finished 4th overall. The 250 GTO's greatest year was 1963. Ferrari built a special lightweight version, the 250 GTO Series 2. It had a revised body, a more powerful engine, and even less weight. The car won race after race. At the 1963 24 Hours of Le Mans, a 250 GTO finished first in the GT class and second overall behind only the prototype 250P. The drivers who raced the 250 GTO were legends. Steering Moss, the greatest driver never to win a world championship, raced a 250 GTO. He said it was one of the best cars he ever drove. Phil Hill, the American world champion, raced it. He said it was perfect. John Surtees, the only man to win world championships on 2 wheels and 4, raced it. He said it was a masterpiece. The 250 GTO also raced in the Tour de France Automobile, a grueling multi-day event on public roads. It won the event in 1962, 1963, and 1964. It was the king of the mountain. By 1965, the 250 GTO was no longer competitive. Newer cars like the 250 LM and the Ford GT40 were faster,
But the 250 GTO had done its job. It had won the championship, it had proven that Ferrari was the best, and it had written its name in the history books. After 1965, most 250 GTOs were retired from racing. Some were sold to private collectors. Some were stored in garages. Some were forgotten, but they would not stay forgotten long.
Part 4. The Drivers and the Stories. Every 250 GTO has a story. Each of the 36 cars has its own history, its own personality, its own legends. Let us look at a few of the most famous. Chassis number 3445 GT is the first 250 GTO ever built. It was the prototype, used for testing and development. It was driven by Sterling Moss at the 1962 Goodwood Easter meeting. It won its class at Le Mans in 1962. It is one of the most historically significant Ferraris in existence. Chassis number 3387 GT is the 250 GTO that won the 1962 Targa Florio. It was driven by Ricci and Marsaglia. It later raced at Le Mans, at Sebring, at the Nürburgring. It is a true racing legend. Chassis number 3757 GT is the car that won the 1963 Tour de France. It was driven by Lucien Bianchi and Georges Berger. It is one of the most successful 250 GTOs ever built. Chassis number 3851 GT is the car that was owned by the fashion designer Nick Mason. Mason bought the car in 1977 for £35,000, which was a fortune at the time. He still owns it. He drives it. He races it. He sleeps in the garage next to it. For him, the car is not a financial asset. It is a living thing. Chassis number 3987 GT is the car that was owned by the fashion designer Ralph Lauren. Lauren is one of the world's most passionate Ferrari collectors. His 250 GTO is pristine, restored to its original specifications. It has won awards at the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. Chassis number 4561 SA is the last 250 GTO ever built. It was sold new to a French collector. It has passed through several hands. It is now owned by a private collector in the United States. These are not just cars. They are pieces of history. They have been driven by heroes. They have won the greatest races in the world. They have survived crashes, fires, neglect, and restoration. They are survivors. Part 7. The Auction Records. The first 250 GTO to sell for $1 million was chassis number 3445 GT, the prototype. It sold for $1.2 million in 1985. That was a record at the time. The world was shocked. $1 million for a car? It seemed insane. In 1990, a 250 GTO sold for $10 million. The market had exploded. Japanese collectors were buying Ferraris at any price. The bubble burst in the early 1990s and prices fell, but they did not fall far. In 2000, a 250 GTO sold for $7 million. In 2005, another sold for $12 million. In 2010, another sold for $20 million. The prices kept climbing. The collectors kept buying. In 2012, a 250 GTO sold for $35 million at auction. It was the most expensive car ever sold at public auction. The room was silent. The auctioneer was stunned. The world was watching. In 2014, another 250 GTO sold for $38 million. In 2016, another sold for $45 million. The records kept falling. Then came 2018, the private sale. Chassis number 4153 GT, a 250 GTO with a racing history, was sold to an anonymous buyer for $70 million. It was the largest sum ever paid for a car. It was a private sale, so the details are murky, but the number has been confirmed by multiple sources: $70 million. The buyer is believed to be David McNeil, the founder of WeatherTech. He is a passionate Ferrari collector.
He already owned several 250 GTOs. He wanted another. He paid whatever it took. Since 2018, no 250 GTO has changed hands publicly. The owners are holding. They are waiting. They believe prices will go higher. They believe a 250 GTO could one day sell for $100 million. Are they right? Only time will tell. Part 8. The $70 million sale. Let us look more closely at the 2018 sale. Chassis number 4153 GT was built in 1962. It was originally sold to a French racing driver, Joe Schlesser. Schlesser raced the car in the 1962 Tour de France. He crashed it. The car was repaired. It raced again. It had a long, successful career. The car passed through several owners. In the 1980s, it was owned by a Japanese collector. In the 2000s, it was owned by an American collector. In 2018, it was sold to David McNeil. The sale was handled by a broker, not an auction house. The price was $70 million. The car was delivered in a climate-controlled container. The transaction was completed in secret. The world only learned about it months later. Why $70 million? Because the car is perfect. It has a known history, it has racing provenance, it has been restored to the highest standards. It is one of the best 250 GTOs in existence. And because there is always someone willing to pay more.
Part 9. The counterfeits and controversies. When something is worth $70 million, people will try to fake it. The 250 GTO is no exception. There are many replicas, clones, and counterfeits. Some are honest replicas, built for fun. Others are fraudulent, built to deceive. The problem is that the 250 GTO shares its chassis with the 250 GT SWB. It is possible to convert an SWB into a GTO. You need a new body, new engine, new suspension, but it can be done, and it has been done. There are also completely fake GTOs, built from scratch. These cars have no Ferrari parts. They are replicas. Some are sold as replicas, others are sold as originals. The buyer must be careful. Ferrari has tried to protect the integrity of the 250 GTO. The company maintains a registry of authentic cars. Each car has a chassis number. Ferrari can verify whether a car is genuine. But the registry is not public. Only Ferrari knows the truth. The controversy has not hurt values. If anything, it has made authentic cars more valuable. The buyer wants certainty. The buyer wants a car that is unquestionably real, and they will pay a premium for it.